Go ahead.
Yeah. He's telling you what his issues are. Blue like Mondays.
Wow. Wow.
You see?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, even when she was talking to me about it, that's what hit. That's what stuck. Blue like Mondays. He knows what you want, and he's still trying to tell you what part of his problem is.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the brilliancy of his writing, but that's another attempt
Yeah.
to let you know that there's something very wrong.
Yes.
So when I'm talking to him about it and I'm asking him, hey, what's eating you? He is like, well, I said, why don't you participate in school? You're such a brilliant boy with such a brilliant mind, and I really, really love for everyone to know you for the person that I know you as.
Yes.
And he says, well, it doesn't matter because no one listens to me and no one hears me. So why should I keep raising my hand when no one is calling on me? And I make suggestions and no one takes them. Basically, no one implements them. I'm invisible.
Yeah. That's the
And
one.
let me tell you something. The crazy thing about that is he was in the 6th grade. And his first attempt when he was 6 years old. And he jumped in that pool. And I said, boy, why did you do that? You could have killed yourself. And he looked at me and he said, I tried to disappear myself. At 6. And at 12, he said, I feel invisible.
Yeah.
And no one hears me.
Yeah.
So when I went to the school, as frequently I did since the age of 6, frequently I went to his school. And I'm pleading with the principal and the teacher and the staff, psychologist and all that. And I'm like, can't we do something else? If we can't switch his class, his teacher.
Which they could have.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps we could switch the group that he sits with, since his teacher wants to have group settings.
Mm-hmm. So you were trying to problem solve.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps if he's feeling a way and he is being defiant, perhaps you could offer him a break to go outside and collect himself.
Mm-hmm. Because you have to think about what his goal is in being defiant. It is to be sent away from the environment that he's in. And if there's an attempt to be sent away from the environment that he's in, is there something about the environment that is causing him such disruption that he would want to be removed from it?
Exactly.
Can we find a way to create an environment? And I'm not saying for every kid that that acts out, you go and change everything going on in the school. But what I'm saying is, if a child is not a good fit, and it is your opinion that every day they need to be kicked out of class, there's a problem there.
And so I asked, I said, can we not see that kicking him out the class every day is not helping?
Right.
Because if it was helping,
it would
you wouldn't need to do it every day.
It would change the behavior. And isn't your goal supposed to be changing the behavior that you don't like? Because we're not looking to punish our kids.
Right.
We're looking to change the behavior that we don't like.
Right.
Into better behavior.
Right.
Right.
And it certainly felt to me Like a punishment.
No, it's pure punishment.
Or avoidance. You don't want to deal with him. You don't want to deal with that. And you certainly don't want to give life to it because you don't want anybody else to mimic the behavior, because then there's a problem.
Right.
So when I'm having this discussion with them, because I'm telling them, you never know what is going to push somebody over the brink.
Right.
Like, I'm giving them not even clues anymore, because I'm also, he's there. So I'm trying to be direct as I can,
right,
without feeding into this monster that I know is looming in the shadows.
Right.
So I'm saying...
Now can I ask, when you talk about the monster that's looming, what would you say? Would you say that would be just the possibility of him committing suicide, or what would be the monster that you don't want to speak to? Okay, so now I do have to, because I want to insert this. I want to say this for parents out there, because see, we're doing this because we want to prevent things from happening in the future, as opposed to seeing something as a hidden monster, something that's hiding in the darkness that you're afraid to address directly,
right?
Because God forbid that can't possibly be it. Like, you don't even want in your mind for that to be the possible it. Okay.
Well, but here's the thing. I'm just calling it for what it was.
Right.
I saw it.
Right.
See, I'm the only one who wanted to address it.
Right.
Because I call it the monster, just like the monster under the bed.
Right, exactly. And the monster under the bed stays hidden. Nobody really wants to see it.
No one.
Or
so when you turn the lights on and you get that child and they see it was really just their baseball bat and the soccer ball.
Right.
You see? And then you say see, there's no monster.
Right.
This monster does not go away.
Exactly. And so the most important thing is to turn the lights on.
Turn them on.
And to say, now how are we getting rid of that thing?
That's right.
This is one of the absolutely most important things. And I know we're working on warning signs, but let's work on some action, because we need action items here. Parents, if you see it and you know it's suicidal tendencies, suicidal ideation, suicidal whatever, say it, speak it, bring it out there for what it is, because you know what, your child knows it's there. They need to hear it. They need to know that it's okay to say it,
and they need to know that you know it's there
and not avoiding. So every professional that did not want, because suicide is such a difficult subject matter to deal with. And then when you're talking about children, oh, no, that can't possibly be it.
Right.
So now this is for the professionals out there. If any of you are listening, it's real. Okay?
Real.
Childhood suicide is on the rise. Stop avoiding the issue. Stop tiptoeing all around it. Stop saying, no, that's not it to parents of 10 and 12-year-olds, because it's real. Even with 8-year-olds, it's real. Okay, so this is a very important just call to action. Call it what it is.
6-year-old.
Yes, call it what it is.
Call it what it is.
And when you call it what it is, then all of a sudden you open up a way for the child to actually address and know, okay, this is real, this is valid, this is not because there's something so very wrong with me. This thing exists in me, and now we can do something about it. We're addressing
not only that, but it's different when they know you see it. Because you see it, but you don't want to say the S word.
Yes. And they're hiding from it just like you are.
Big mistake.
Yes.
I addressed it all the time. But I always be like, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yes.
It can be worked out.
Right.
Name it.
Yes. Name it.
It is suicide.
Name it.
It is suicidal.
Yes. Bring it out into the light.
That's it.
Bring it out into the light. Don't allow it to be hidden in the darkness, because see, that's where the actual action of suicide happens, in isolation and in
Absolutely.
darkness. So bring
Absolutely.
it to the light. Leave it in the light. Shine the light on it. Don't let the school officials get away from it. Don't let the doctors get away
Name
from it.
it.
Name it. Yes, that is so important. Now, again, I know we're on warning signs, but we had to. That's a call to action.
Man, name it. Its name is suicide.
Yes. Yeah. So this is so I'm so thankful that you're doing this with me, because and I know that your goal is to prevent the same thing from happening to other
Absolutely.
children.
Because it's so preventable.
So preventable.
And it's the number one killer of our children.
Nowadays, and people need to understand and know that. I know that you have likely out there, people, you have likely heard this, across the news at one point, or you heard the statistic somewhere and it came into your mind and out of your mind. But right now, we're asking that you let it stick and stay. Okay, it is the number one killer. Let this sink in.
Yes.
Of our children today. It is very important for this issue to no longer be hidden.
That's right.
But to be addressed directly.
Directly.
And when there are those who don't want to address it directly, for you parents out there, you make them. You make them. And you don't shut up and you don't stop until they do.
You don't stop.
Okay?
Because one thing about that, I'm glad you brought that up. Because my son, as articulate as he was, and as smart as he was, smart can be a dangerous thing.
Oh, very. Oh, my goodness.
Smart can be a very dangerous thing, because I prided myself, and I still, to this day, look at it as a source of pride that I communicate with my children.
Yes.
But now, communication is a two-way thing.
Yes.
And my son was smart enough to know that if he gave me something, then I would leave him alone.
Yes. Yes.
So he would give me little bits of something till he felt like, okay, well, now she's going to leave me alone about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did at the time, but I would come back and readdress it. See, he listened to me, but he wouldn't really talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fall for the okie doke.
Especially when your instincts are telling you
Especially when
there's
your
something wrong.
is telling you that there's something really, really wrong.
Now, let me say this. It's way more tolerable to be called overprotective, to be called crazy, to be told that you do too much. It's way more tolerable to have that happen than it is to end up with a what if situation.
That's
what
right.
if I
That's
had
right.
paid attention to this sign?
That's
What if would my child still be here today if
Yes.
I had done this? This whole conversation that we're having right now is to try to prevent parents from having those what if moments.
And the thing about it is, it's not a moment. It's a everyday.
It's a everyday.
It will haunt you, and I suspect it will haunt me to the day I take my own last breath.
Yes.
And see, when I'm talking about the conversation that I was having with the principal and the teacher, the principal says to my son, he asked my son, well, how do you feel about your mother and your life at home? Okay? Mm-hmm. And I was really proud and impressed with the answer that my son gave him. And he said, I love my mother. She's wonderful. There's nothing that she wouldn't do for us. She loves us so much, and she just wants to make sure that we're okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And I just looked at the principal. I was like in shock, because to me that meant everything.
Yeah.
And again, that was something that I wanted and I needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
However, it probably wasn't even a couple of months later before he committed suicide.
Because the principal was asking the wrong question.
Exactly.
It's so interesting.
See, because it's my fault. Because
Yeah,
I'm
has to be.
overprotective, or, I'm single now, or whatever, So it's somehow, it can't be them. It can't be him. So it must be me.
Right.
That's the easiest thing.
Now, you know what? Now, that's a very important point that you bring up, by the way. Because at the end of the day, most of the time you will find, especially with children, when things like that happen with children, that there will be a lot of parent blame going on. Whether it's vocalized or verbalized or not, there's a lot of parent blame that goes on. And see, the interesting part about today's society, and I think for a society for a really long time now, is our children are not in the care of their parents for a majority of their day.
Absolutely.
Our children are, because it's two parent working households most of the time, our children spend a majority of their waking hours in the care of the school system.
Absolutely.
So very important. And this is not me actually trying to toss out a blame piece. This is me trying to tell everybody to wake up. If they're spending a majority of their time with our schools, then our schools need to be properly trained on how to deal with situations that are difficult with children who are not developmentally disabled. For children, they're the children that I call the lost children. For the children that are highly intelligent, but they struggle emotionally.
Let me just throw this piece in here while you're saying that, because I love that you said that. But let me just throw this in. And without even having to make an effort about a big research about it. On top of that, there's always a bullying piece to that.
Yes.
Always.
Thank you for bringing that up.
90-something% of the I want to say 100%, but since people say nothing is always 100%, there is always a bullying component in their decision.
I'm so glad you said that.
At school, online, both.
Yes. For those kids that don't fit in.
That's it.
Those kids that don't fit in. And not only bullying by the students, by the way, but bullying by the teachers. Teachers, yard duty, all of these people out there who are supposed to be protecting our children. And then it's just more of if they didn't have such behavioral issues, they wouldn't be addressed in that way. No, it's time out for that. Bullying is bullying. And if it's coming from an adult, then that's just 10, 100, 1 million times worse, because adults are supposed to be in place, especially those in the care who are caring for our children, to protect our children. So man, I'm glad you brought that up. Right now, the way that bullying is being dealt with in schools, and I know that these people don't know what they're doing. So I can't say that it's extremely upsetting, because it's not a thing that they're doing on purpose, but it's not being addressed appropriately. I heard of a system called restorative justice within the school system that sounds a lot like prison.
See?
And that part really, it disturbed me when I heard about the way they deal with the school's bullies.
His teacher said, I don't baby my students. And if someone is misbehaving, I don't yield to that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I just felt like that's a terrible way to feel.
Right.
If someone is acting out, if someone is doing something that you deem inappropriate, Find out why.
There's a reason. Exactly.
That's it.
There's a reason. No matter what people try to think, and it's time out. Like, I understand, old school ways of thinking, and we're not gonna spoil or coddle these children.
Right.
I get that thinking to a certain extent.
Right.
But when you're talking about old school, you're talking about those who were back in a day where there wasn't as much information,
Right.
where there wasn't as much education about what you can do, about what children are saying to you when they're doing certain things. So it's time to start to wake up and take some responsibility and be accountable for especially when you have the children in your care. It's so very important for you to step up and recognize there's
Yes.
something that this child is trying to tell
Yes.
me. They don't have all the words.
Right.